Constitution, the entire booklet is sent to Gambian people to their doorstep. Every Gambian is being sensitized about the Constitution. That was the greatest task of the Second Republic, for people to know their Constitution before getting into it. It has passed all due process of law to a referendum. The majority of Gambians have spoken. It became binding on all of us as Gambians. It's the Quran of the country, or the Bible as we call it. And all those who are talking now as political heads, majority of them served in this august body as representative of the people during their tenure as parliamentarian, the Constitution as it is. Nobody, no Gambian, no parliamentarian among them, and whoever did so can take me to task, have never stood before this august body and talked about this particular clause of the Constitution. And in those days, they are stakeholders, they are authorities of the states, they have all power to do, to say, to sensitize Gambian if there is any bad laws. They have never happened. Some of them serve here for 2 consecutive terms. Some of them probably 3 terms also. After serving in a room where your voice can be heard well, where you have all right to make recommendation, to talk about the bad laws if you feel there is any. You've never. It means then you are consent to it. Yeah. Honorable Speaker, those type of people, they are not worthy to be listened to. Honorable Speaker, we talk about, if you look at Article 8, no, it is 17 points, but it's basically about press, execution. As we all know, before you talk about your freedom, you need to be in existence first. Out of the 28 radio stations that we have operation in this country, only 1 out of 28 radio stations is off the air. It means the 27 radio stations are still in existence. So the number is very insignificant compared to the number that is in operation. If you come to the print media, we have 16 print medias. I have the record with me. Press, if you want, I will supply it to you later. 16 print medias are in existence. How many of them were operating in the previous regime? And most of them look for their license during the previous regime. They have been denied license of operation. Now, what type of freedom do you need? My brother and sisters of this country, the entire Gambia have spoken, and we speak very clear and loud that the days of colonialism is over, and it will never come back. The youths of this country, the women of this country, the elderly people of this country are rallying behind the government of the day. Then the EU should understand that Gambia is a sovereign state. Our sovereignty needs to be respected and recognized. And we will not allow any group or a club which you feel you join, you don't feel you keep the club. You'll never take this country to ransom.
The EU have put in conditions with guidelines. That is what we call in English, that is what we call, it's ultra-virus. When you don't have a mandate to tell someone what to do, and then you tell him, that becomes ultra-virus. The other issues leading to the press, I think when we say, when we have laws across the board, and when you put in a law in place that segregates other people, it becomes an ambiguous law. it becomes a bad law. So if everybody is supposed to contribute to the economy to make money, and one side of those people you are telling them no, they should be exempted, it's ambiguous. It's a bad law. And we are not going to subscribe to that. Honorable Speaker, the member read portions of the Constitution, Honorable Sedika, but there is something that I want to add on to what he's been reading, and I read. As we usher in the Second Republic and beyond, we give ourselves and generation of Gambians yet unborn this constitution as a beacon of hope for peace and stability in our society and the good governance of the Gambia for all time. Honorable Speaker, that is quite enough. We have seen the abuses that happen here. A lot of us were in the system, got series of stories. 5 times we couldn't leave the country. And if it was not for the able leadership of the former Speaker of the National Assembly, I would have never left this country. I've never mentioned that to her. Honorable Speaker, let us look at one point. You see, the Honorable Member for Okonyomi mentioned what is in the Quran. We mentioned about the people of Lut, and it's mentioned in all the books, being Al-Quran, Bible, Injil, everywhere is mentioned. That God sent angels and then they were perished. That same God is still here. He's not changed. So if we go back to allow homosexuality into our society, we could suffer the same punishment. And it could come in a different form. It could create poverty, disease, and other things. It's punishment in another form. So we have to be careful. This homosexual issue is a non-starter. We're not going to discuss it. Honorable Speaker, if we look at the Gambia per se, in as much as we are not an island, we have enjoyed fruitful relationship bilateral between us and the EU. And in many cases we reciprocated. It was a cross-cutting thing. It was not a one-sided thing. So let's accept that. So if you are saying that we have to have a discussion, and you give me a document that is time-bound, it means that you have taken a position. Then how are we going to discuss? When you've already taken a position, and then you give me a timeline, that means that you are closing the doors for discussion. When we dialogue, we have to listen to each other, exchange ideas, and then we reciprocate and respect each other's opinion.
Our Speaker, on the 12th of June, the Gambia government and the EU had a meeting on these very issues. And there was no palaver, no trouble, nobody had. The question we should be asking ourselves, or the Europeans should be asking themselves, is why is there palaver now? The reason there is palaver is because of their approach to the issues. Their confrontational attitude on the issues and their non-diplomatic stance on the issues. If you look at the response, the preemptive response made by the state, it makes all of those 17 points no issues. They have taken action without the European Union telling them on all of the issues. 1 or 2 are contentious. And the issue around those issues revolves around the International Covenant on Human Rights and the rights of the person. And the reason why it's contentious is because in that covenant, there is a section that talks about sexual orientation, that people have a right to sexual orientation. In other words, you have the right to be a homosexual. And you have the right to marry another man if you are a man. And if you are a woman, you can marry another woman. They themselves have problems with that, because last week there was a